So let's talk about the in-game first. Am I wrong in assuming that most people here is in a situation where they are primarily looking to work as a player, a coach, an analyst, or something that sits directly in the game? You know, they want to work, so to speak, directly with the stage, with the competition, and they want to. And I mean, most people who look towards an esports education is really there to try and be a professional player, which I think is not bad, but I think it's interesting because of the fact that there is very, very little in the way of stopping people early on when it comes to becoming good with an esports outlook. If you're an athlete and you are 18 and you are not haven't been developing your sport for many, many years, it's quite easy for most people to say that's probably not going to be my chosen field. Doesn't mean you're excluded from working here. It does, however, mean that you are going to be working in a supplementary capacity. So an 18-year-old who never played football can still work in football. It's just about becoming a caster, working in media, any of these jobs. Esports does not have this restriction, which is why I decided to include this slide. We have seen at the moment an incredible amount of players who transition from awkward and weird fields. So we're talking people who come in the game. Rick Fox is a great example, right? Rick Fox is a great example of an athlete that decided to purchase a team, an esports team, because of his son. We are seeing some of my old colleagues were in training to become lawyers when they just randomly decided one day, or completely out of the blue one day, just made challenger in League of Legends. And they actually dropped their law school and decided to go professional in esports. What I want you guys to understand, if you are sitting here with the dream of being a professional player, is yes, you can definitely get a job, but it should not be time taken out of your workday to do this. You will not have a chance of going professional unless you are already in the highest ranked solo play leagues in whatever esports you're playing. Until you get there, you should not dedicate yourself to it because there are quite few supplementary skills that you can work on except for being good at the game. And being good at the game is a tricky thing to dedicate actual work hours to because of the fact that games are always being patched. It's really that simple. If you decide, if you're like, I hope you guys play League so you get the metaphor, but if you guys decide, I want to be a professional League of Legends player, what do I do? And your call is sit down, play a bunch of League of Legends, you will constantly be battling the flow of time and the fact that every so often the patches will change. What is the recommended method for going professional if you really care about esports? Is find yourself an affiliate job, something that you can work at alongside developing your esports skills. Play esports exclusively in your downtime. So in your off hours, in the evenings, in the mornings before work, but do not be one of these people who hit Diamond 2 or hit the third highest rank and get the feeling that they can definitely make it, and then they drop out of school. Because of the fact, and this is not something we're going to be going in depth with today, but esports, being good at esports, isn't just playing the game. There is a whole bunch of different skills you definitely need to develop first and foremost. And I stress that. The number one killer of careers, if you are a player, a coach, a manager, an analyst, anything that's directly related to the end game, is lack of interpersonal skills. I know some of the best players I've ever met in my life, and I worked with Xpeke, I worked with SOAS. Some of the best players I've ever met don't make it because of the fact that they never develop their skills outside esports. You can hit rank 1 multiple times and never go pro. It's completely possible because of the fact that they just can't work in a team, for example, or they don't develop their social skills to the point where they ever have enough of a stable platform to actually move out of their parents' house. This is known. This is seen all the time as well. The additional hardship, as you can see down here, of trying to go pro in game, so to speak, is that you will likely not have a salary while you're developing. Not being a salaried worker, like essentially dropping what you're doing to try to go pro in a certain industry without actually being good enough already, means that you are adding unnecessary stress. Being stressed in some of our studies show between a 20 to even a 40% reduction in your reaction time and your communicative skills. Meaning, these people who are almost there and then decide to actually quit so they can focus on the game are handicapping themselves by not maintaining a job outside esports, even though they get more hours to play. The Korean method the Korean method of playing League of Legends or Counter Strike or whatever games they want to play for 16 hours a day, I must stress this, only work because they have a lot of money working towards it. It does not work if you try to play 16 hours on your own because you're adding more stress, which will decrease your performance. We're seeing anything from reactions to critical thinking to even stuff like breathing being worse just from the fact that you don't have an income to rely on, which stresses you. All right. Um, what I will say here at the end, though, is if you can make it in this industry, if you can make it in this front, you will find the most money here. Um, Provocatively speaking, so speaking from a quite provocative standpoint, you'll find about 80% of the big money in the top positions. So even if like this is true in team form, but it's also true in stuff like prize winnings. You'll find frequently that tournaments pay out 50% of their total prize pool to the winning team, for example. And then the next 8 or 9 teams will share the last 50, bottom 50%. What's tricky about this is that means that only the 2 or 3 best teams can actually make a living completely off of this. One of the later lessons, we're going to be talking a lot about sponsors, and this is why. It's because if you play in an esport that has to do with these frequent LAN events, like Counter Strike is a great example. Excuse me. Where you fly all over the world for these 2-week tournaments, you're going to find that if you're not on the peak right now, you won't necessarily make the money that you were hoping to. Um, However, if you do make it, you will be a millionaire. So that's quite nice. You see in the news and such that these players make millions. And having worked in the industry, I can confirm if you are one of the best, you will make millions. It's that simple. Um, all the money goes where all the attention is, and all the attention is with the best. Meaning, if you are one of the best, there is no question about it. There are no regions that cannot support esports millionaires. Even the smallest Japanese leagues and such has esports millionaires. It's just the nature of the game. You will probably not get there, I'm going to be honest, unless you are a special kind of human being. Because what you'll also find is among the best players, the average career length for a player is around 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, from they hit their peak and until they retire. A lot of these people will keep playing, but on a significantly reduced level to the point where they are relying on, and this is mostly in stuff like League of Legends, where Riot Games pays a set salary, is a lot of players will be good enough to stay in the league, but never honestly compete like for a top position ever again. Think Piglet, who won the World Championships and has since been performing underwhelmingly for the last, I believe, 6 years, right? And he's still grinding because he makes decent money. He's just not making world's prize pool money anymore. So I just wanted to get that out of the way here. No, no one needs to drop out of school to pursue the career. Even if you're quite good, you must be extremely good before you do that. And the general recommendation is actually don't drop out until you have a concrete offer with a contract that's a year or more.